Hello, this is going to be my first review. I promised in the last video, the introductory video, that I wanted to do some reviews from the Criterion collection and other sort of relevant or pertinent releases. So my first one is a library rental. I didn't buy this, but I was recommended to buy it. It's supposedly one of the more illustrious DVD releases, DVD-specific releases in the Criterion collection. In other words, there's no Blu-ray yet. This is 1941, The Lady Eve, directed by Peter Sturges, starring Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda, amongst others. This is my first film from any of those, both directors and actors. I had never actually even heard of Barbara Stanwyck before, and having looked her up afterwards, apparently she's quite famous, so the reason I bring her up is because she was incredible in this movie. Regarding the sort of plot itself, this Henry Fonda's character is named George Pike. He's the heir to a brewery fortune, Pike's Pale Ale, and he is returning from South America, where he had spent a year on an Amazon expedition. On his return cruise home, he meets this woman, Jean Harrington, who is kind of a sort of witty, sharp, fast, very confident woman, whereas Henry Fonda's character is very much a sort of bumbling idiot. It's kind of an inversion of gender roles for the time. I'm not saying that women are bumbling idiots, but often in these 30s and 40s movies, they're portrayed as kind of controlled by their emotions and things of that sort. They still are in a lot of movies. So, but the two fall in love, which I'll debate the merits of that later, falling in love on a ship after a few days. But then Henry Fonda's character comes to learn that Jean, played by Barbara Stanwyck, is actually a sort of a card sharp, a con artist. She, her father, and his partner all have a history of sort of conning people out of their money, and so when learning this and being the heir to the fortune that he decides to dump her for sort of dishonesty. She kind of vows revenge against him. She turns up later in his life at a sort of house party as the Lady Eve Sedgwick, something like that. And he is confused about her, whether or not she's the same person as the person on the boat, Jean Harrington. She is, but she portrays herself as a sort of glamorous, rich heiress to this sort of family fortune, very sort of hoity-toity Connecticut type, kind of speaks in a Brahms accent to some degree. But nevertheless, Henry Fonda's character falls in love with her. This time, she's kind of in control. She's not as swept up by her emotions as she was on the ship, and so she's kind of got this whole ploy to dupe him now, kind of a plot for revenge. And so after a few weeks they get married. Again, kind of unbelievable, but it's an old movie. She then, I don't remember exactly how, on a train, she kind of reveals some of her past boyfriends and things of that sort. And Henry Fonda is just, shocked at how many there are, and so he decides that they're through. And then it kind of just all unfolds, and I won't kind of spoil the ending for you, but this movie I wasn't in love with. That first act on the boat actually was really good, really enjoyable, but then it kind of gives in to its slapstick pedigree, more so than I would have preferred, and you kind of lose a lot of the power that Stanwyck was evoking throughout the film. She still does a good performance for the entirety of the movie, but her first, the first act in the boat was she was just remarkable. This falls into a lot of the same negatives I would say about old movies, old classic Hollywood movies, is that it's very slow paced. There's a lot of areas where they could trim the fat. Subtlety is ignored. They kind of drill jokes in over your head. So I think, if this movie was 15, 20 minutes shorter, I would have probably liked it a lot more. I think the pacing was what got me on the first act. It was really strong. But nevertheless, it's a pretty good movie. I typically don't like much of old classic Hollywood. It has to take a really remarkable movie for me to appreciate it. And yeah, so as far as the Criterion release is concerned, I didn't go through the commentary or anything, but I did watch I think it's Peter Bogdanovich does a introduction to the film. It's about 8 or 9 minutes long, and that's pretty good. There's also the radio play from Lux Radio Theater, which I think was maybe released after, but maybe released before. I can't remember. But that's kind of neat. There's really nothing new to the movie or to the play that wasn't in the movie. But it's kind of funny at the beginning of it in the introduction. It says, this broadcast is going to be condensed to 45 minutes so that we can hear remarks from our president, which I just thought was kind of funny. Especially considering, this is 1941, so America's involvement in the war is looming. There's a couple other special features on here. Scrapbook of publicity materials and production stills, and the original trailer. Mostly I would say the audio commentary by Marianne Keene, and then that video introduction by Peter Bogdanovich, and then the Lux Radio broadcast are probably the most wanted special features. So I'd say, I don't want to give a numerical value or rating system, but I didn't love the movie by any stretch, and I didn't hate it. It was good. So that's The Lady Eve. Spy number, I don't know. My library copy has the spy number covered, but if you like classic cinema, I would imagine you'd love this movie. If not, you can give it a shot, but I wouldn't recommend buying it, blind buying it. I would just say find it Netflix or something like that. So I'll be doing another video fairly soon. I've got about 5 more library movies to go through. There's one I started watching before this that I didn't get to finish because the library copy was damaged, but I was liking it enough that I bought it while the half-off sale was still going on. And then one more quick note too, and I'll get to this in more depth at some point down the road, but in my last video I mentioned that my birthday was last week. I got kind of a late birthday present from my housemates. It's the Fanny and Alexander box set. I've never seen an Ingmar Bergman movie. I've never seen Fanny and Alexander, obviously. But I am hoping to get through these library movies by the weekend, and then devote my weekend to watching the television version. I may actually watch the theatrical version over the weekend, and then maybe watch an episode of the television version all next week. But regardless, I've got a few more reviews in the pipeline. I'm going to actually start Alfred Hitchcock's 39 Steps next, and so that should be coming tomorrow or maybe the next day. This review is getting a little long now, so I'm going to cut it short. But thank you for watching.